All right, the final item on the morning session is 808 Palmerston. And we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have presentation materials from the applicant. Forestry is asking for condition number 1. And I think we had correspondence from transportation regarding the parking spot. We have correspondence in support from number 7, 5658, 18, 5, and 810 and 840 Palmerston. We had correspondence expressing concerns from 818, 22, 25, 11, 26, 31, 20, 14, Palmerston, and then we had opposition correspondence from number 3, 26, 36, 34, 53, 52, and 33 Palmerston. Okay, I'm not showing, we had somebody who wanted to speak. We have been trying to reach them. We're unable to reach them. So I have no speakers listed. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Committee. Laura McInnes, and I'm the owner of 808 Palmerston Avenue.
Hi. Panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? Okay, do you have...
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I would like to request that the last two variances, number 5 and 6, which relate to the creation of a rear yard parking space, that those be deleted from the application.
Okay.
And they don't affect the other variances.
All right, just bear with me for a second then. Okay, I'm sorry, which two, the last two? So for
Yes,
number
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Well, I don't have a 6.
6 was regarding a parking permit.
Oh, well, that's not a variance, so that's not on here. So it would only be, so variance number 5 on, so we go by the notice that was sent out. So variance number 5 is the minimum length should be 5.6 and it's measuring 4.95. So we'll delete that one. And that's the only one, I believe, here regarding the parking spot.
Correct.
Okay.
Chair, I wonder if I could just introduce, so just a question, does that then affect variance number 2?
No, it does not affect number 2, and it doesn't either affect soft landscaping. Neither of those are affected.
Okay, so everything else stays the same, and by removing this variance, you basically are getting rid of the transportation concern, correct?
Correct.
Okay, okay, and the purpose is all right. Okay, so I think panel members indicated they don't need a presentation, but there may be questions. So let me ask if there are any questions from the panel members. Mr. Clay.
So I'm sorry, you'll beg your indulgence for me being confused. So if the soft yard landscaping is not changed, but the parking spot was in your backyard, so I'm struggling. If you remove the parking spot, does that not change your percentage of soft landscaping?
No, currently there's 7.85 existing, and the back garden is a patio with a small planting bed, and the proposal when there was parking was just to relocate the same planting bed to maintain the soft landscaping that is already there. And so by removing the parking, we just would not change the location of the existing planting bed as it is now.
Okay, so again, just bear with me. So 7.5% on soft landscaping in the rear is pretty small.
It is. May I speak to that?
Yes, please.
So I understand the minimum is 25 and the proposed is 7.85, but this is a very small lot relative to the usable outdoor space, and the majority of the garden is on the side yard, which I do understand is city property. The very last slide of the presentation material that I provided shows that since the home was purchased in 2005, the original side over 80% soft landscaping. So this is a significant site improvement, and the rear yard, which is on the property, was originally concrete and is now partially patio and planting bed.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Mr. Niffel?
I'm not clear on the revision. Are you removing the parking space or you're making it larger?
No, there is currently no parking space there, although there are many on corner lots in the neighborhood.
And your
But
proposal
because,
was to put a parking space.
Yes.
Are you now, you're now proposing to not put a parking space in?
I mean, honestly, the concern from most of the neighborhood, although we had 8 letters of support, was the majority of the letters of concern and objection were about parking, mostly from a concern of losing parking in the neighborhood. I did speak with transportation about their recommendation to refuse the application, and we did talk about the math that essentially you take one car off the road and it equals out, so you're not losing parking spaces, especially in relation to where the driveway would be. And I know that transportation was also concerned with soft landscaping, and as I've shown, we've really improved the boulevard and the public right-of-way with the guard the last 15 years. My concern was also addressing neighbors who we did reach out to about this, but honestly, that's what my taking it off was was about the neighborhood objection to it, and that the transportation cannot approve it, although they did say that they would approve a permit if the committee approved the parking space, which is slightly undersized.
So I'm still not clear. Is the proposal that you want us to review right now, does it include any parking on the site or not?
No, I'm going to, those two, number 5, we're not going to consider at the moment.
So if, to Mr. Clay's point, where you had the new parking space, what will be there in your proposal as it is before us now? Is
If
it
you go to
landscaping?
actually, you can stay on that side, yes, you go to the top image on that slide that you're at, you can see
Yeah.
this is actually slightly incorrect. It's the L-shaped planting bed around the corner is there now. The little planting bed that's by the stairs, that does not exist. So it's to relocate, it will stay as it is, but without the planting bed on the side.
And the reason that the rear yard soft landscaping is minimal is because that square in the middle is paved, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Is there any opportunity for you to increase the amount of soft landscaping in that rear yard? Because if you don't have a parking space there, you could in fact increase the soft landscaping.
The patio was, I mean, it really is quite small. There's only room for one table and a barbecue. So because we put significant time and energy into landscaping the side yard, that has significantly improved the site condition. There's very little room for other planting at the backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, Ms. McGinnis, we're ready to go into committees or anything you want to add that's not in the materials. So we'll be looking at the application as amended, okay?
Yes, thank you. No, the only other point is that we believe that the increase with the additions and all the other variances are related to existing conditions, and that this is in keeping with the neighborhood, and that the FSI, there is a precedent for 1.73 from 2019 in the neighborhood, and it seems larger because it's on a corner lot, but is in keeping with the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Sorry, Mr. Clay.
Thanks, Chair. I think the presentation was very helpful, and I think we looked at all the letters, and as the applicant said, most of the concern, as is often the case in neighborhoods, is about parking and the loss of a parking spot. And with the removal of that variance or in that proposal, I think this application in its entirety is quite reasonable. I would also note that with respect to the soft landscaping, I think the owner makes a very valid point that in lieu of backyard landscaping, they have done a great deal of work on the side yard, which they don't own, but that's a good thing to do. So I think that in total rounds out the proposal in a supportable way, and I'm happy to support it. I'm happy to move a motion unless my colleagues have something to the contrary, but if, Yim, did you have a point?
I just like to make a point that maybe we can add to that if we deleting the parking variance, which the backyard conditions should be reverted to the existing. The reason why I said that is because they actually proposed to modify the fence, the existing fence in the new proposal. So just to show that we will not have that done, we should make sure that it will just be reverted back to the existing condition.
You mean, do you mean remain,
I'm not
remain?
sure I understand.
Yeah, me either. Do you mean to have it, hang on, do you mean to have it remain as existing?
Exactly, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Instead of having new, actually in detail, if you look at the proposed plan, the backyard have zero landscaping, as far as I see. But the existing one is actually got a strip of soft landscaping around it. So
Okay,
I just thought that yeah.
so you want a condition that the landscaping remain as it exists? Is
Yes,
that what you're saying?
And
Okay.
yeah, and the fence, yeah.
Does that make sense, Mr. Clay?
I understand the intent, but does that condition limit the agent or applicant from changing the configuration of the landscaping? I worry that making it, or a condition that keep it the way it is, kind of limits them from doing better things or different things in the future, which I don't think we.
Yeah, staff
we-
is nodding, yes, you're correct.
So with respect, I'm kind of inclined not to put that condition in, if that's okay with you, for those reasons.
But I just got confused because if they can put the fence in, if you do not, I mean, in which one we are going to go, which plan we are going to go for then? There are two plans, the existing and the proposed. If you just delete the variance for the parking, they still can build the fence and everything else or reduce the landscaping. And I don't know,
There is a fence already there, so,
but
you
it's
know,
a different fence. Will we going for the existing plan or the proposed plan?
Let the Deputy Secretary Treasurer weigh in here for a second.
Through you, Madam Chair, what I would suggest is that perhaps a revised site plan is submitted that eliminates the parking space.
Okay,
Okay,
does that satisfy
sounds
your concern?
That
Okay,
sounds good, yeah.
so, Mr. Clay, if you can make that a condition, then, that a revised site
Sure.
plan showing the removal of the parking spot be submitted.
sure. I'm
Okay.
happy to move that motion with that condition. I think that will satisfy Yim's concern.
Okay,
Larry, if I might, I believe it's also subject to forestry condition number 1.
yep, it is.
Thank you so much, Carl. Yes, it is.
I'm happy to second your motion.
And just that it's an amended approval with variance 5 eliminated, right?
Yep, I think you've covered it all. So, the motion's moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. So the removal of variance 5, which is the amendment, and then the condition that a revised site plan be submitted showing the removal of the parking spot. Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's been approved unanimously. Okay, so, do you want to go 45 minutes, or what do you guys? Okay, so we'll be back at 2:30. I'm sorry, folks, we're running half an hour behind. So I'll see you guys at 2:30.
Yeah, it's better you eat.
So are we off camera now? Good afternoon. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Oman and I will be chairing this meeting. Panel members participating via WebEx and who can be seen and heard are Carl Nifel, Yim Chan, and Larry Clay. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto local appeal body known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation, if desired, and when the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application, and then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have the opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. Committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Panel members and staff, any of you have an interest to declare in the items this afternoon? Mr. Nipfel.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I have to declare a potential conflict with, oh dear.
Item 34, I think it is.
You're correct, 3429 Lankin. I have a relationship with the owners that are in immediate proximity to the dwelling.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are you aware of any requests to close or withdraw applications this afternoon?
None for today.
Okay, thanks. All right, first item is item number 21, which is 223 Browning Avenue. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay. All right, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And I believe there's a deferral request by the agent, and we have a report from community planning, and they were recommending refusal of variances 1 and 3. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is I'm Stéphane Leblanc. I'm the applicant. I'm at 550 Queen Street East, Suite 121.
Okay, and you're requesting a deferral, is that correct?
Yeah, we're requesting a deferral. This project is also happening in conjunction with the semi-detached neighbor at 235 Browning. We had a hearing at 235 on January 6th, and we discussed with the committee. There's a couple issues. One, we wanted, with the committee, it decided that they would rather have these two cases viewed at the same time. So that's one reason we'd like to get a deferral, so that we can schedule both projects at the same hearing in the future. And the second issue is we've been working with the community planner to deal with their concerns, and we've come up with a revised proposal that addresses the massing on the front of the proposed addition, and we're also working with the rear addition. So we would like to, once we get a proposal that they can accept and support, we would like to then resubmit them for revised zoning notice, and then we would reschedule a new application. So for those two reasons, we'd like to get a deferral for this project as well.
Okay, sounds like a reasonable request. Just let me see, I have one speaker listed. So let me just go to the speaker.
Hello, Remo. You're unmuted.
Mr. Brucese, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, can you speak up a bit? I can barely hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. I don't know if you've been listening, but the agent is requesting a deferral because the adjacent property, I believe it's 235, they want to come back with both of these properties at the same time and also make revisions. So they're asking committee to defer this matter.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're okay with that? And then everything will be recirculated to the neighbors, and perhaps you can have a conversation with the agent also if you have any concerns.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay, Mr. LeBlanc, so are you okay to speak with the resident at 224 before you bring it back and just go over what the issues are?
Yes, we've spoken with him. My understanding is he's not in opposition. He was just an interested party.
Okay.
But if he wants to speak more, we will speak and further. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, panel members, you've heard the reasons for the deferral, so let's take it into committee. Ms. Chan?
Yes, I propose for the deferral because we actually deferred 235 last time. For the reason that we like to hear both cases at the same time. And of course, giving them more time to work with planning is good too. So I propose to defer and to be scheduled.
Okay, so you're moving the motion. Mr. Nipfel, you seconding? Did you have anything to add before we do the motion?
You know, I'd like to commend the applicant, Madam Chair. He's being very cooperative. As Ms. Chan indicated, we had this before us at the last hearing of the panel that Yim and I sat on, and we wanted to hear these two together, and the applicant's being very cooperative to arrange for us to see them together and to address concerns about the frontage of the building. So I'm very pleased with him bringing this forward.
Okay, thanks to both of you. So, Ms. Chan, did you want to move the motion? Okay, and,
Yes.
yep,
Yes.
okay, so motion to defer is moved by Ms. Chan, and are you seconding, Mr. Nipfel?
My pleasure.
Seconded by Mr. Nipfel, all in favor? Okay, so the application's been deferred unanimously. All right, item number 22, 424 Glendennan Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of trees, including a third one of a black walnut tree, previous decisions affecting the property, covering letter from Bartlett Tree Experts, as well as Always Services, arborist report from Bartlett Tree Experts, email correspondence from Mr. Picken, the owner, tree condition assessment from the owner, and we have forestry permit, presentation materials from Mr. Picken, the owner. We have a staff report from forestry asking for condition number 2. Correspondence in opposition from 426 Clendenan, which is adjacent, 432, 434, and 428. I'm showing speakers listed.
Through you, Madam Chair, we attempted to connect Adam and Mercedes buyers, but we couldn't reach them.
You're not able to reach them?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you want to try one more time, or? Okay. Okay, so we have one speaker listed, which are the owners at 426. So in the meantime, can I have the owner identify himself, name and address for the record, please?
Hello, Madam Chair. My name is Sam Picken at 424 Clendenan Avenue.
Okay, sir, I think I'm not sure we need a presentation unless we do get the opposition on the line. In the meantime, I'm going to see if my members have any questions. Mr. Clay.
Sure, I read all the letters, and I think it's fair to say that there's a number of folks that are concerned about the height of your proposed pergola. So we just need to probe that a little bit. It looks like from the drawings that the pergola is 15 feet high. I suspect maybe that's because of your grade issues, but I wonder if you can speak to the concerns that your neighbors have about height.
Yes, thank you, committee. To help me, do you mind pulling up the presentation document that I sent through on the 25th?
It's on the SUP, I think. Yeah, just give us a second. Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Is that the page you want, or which page do you want us to put up?
Page 6 is probably the best page. This was just some contextual information, but I wanted to show the shadow study, which is in relation to the height. So the height, yes, you're right, that the grade, it does grade away from their property. So when we did the original drawings, we did it based on the lowest point of the grade. So when you say 4.8 meters, that's at the very lowest. It's on the south corner of the pergola, not the north side, which their property is on the north side. And I did read the objection letters as well, and we want to be reasonable neighbors. So after I read the objection letters, I had my architect draft up the shadow diagrams based on the 4 seasons, and then on page 7 is the most exaggerated season, which is winter. So in spring, fall, and summer, the pergola really only affects our property. But then on the winter diagram, you can see it does go over the property line, the shadow, but most of it will be on their side wall of their house. Like most of what you see there is the fence shadow. And so, but in relation to the height though, you know, in order to be a good sport, I did some measuring, and we could lower it by 0.6 of a meter, which would be 2 feet. And that would, I think, significantly decrease the shadow's impact. if that would, if you would like that to happen.
Mr.
Just
Clay,
something-
would that
Yeah, just
satisfy?
well, I think it's just a further thing. So when I looked at the elevations, it also looked like the pergola is basically, it meets the structure of your home at the top of the first story, bottom of the second story. Is that correct? Like
That's correct.
yeah, your pergola it doesn't go up and cover 2 stories. It's simply covering, I guess, the ground floor, is it?
That's correct.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think if you dropped it down a little bit, that doesn't seem unreasonable, frankly, to me. And I appreciate the shadow studies, that's very helpful.
Okay, so do we put that in as a condition, that the pergola be lowered? Okay, so that would be a condition, Mr. Clay.
Yeah, sure, are we waiting for a speaker here, or is that?
They've tried a number of times, we can't reach them, so
Okay.
we'll just, if there are any other questions? No?
If there isn't any, I'm happy to make a motion. I was originally concerned, like, when I started looking what 15 feet is, and that's actually fairly high, but I think the explanation we heard today satisfies my concerns anyways, and it
Well-
doesn't seem unreasonable.
So let me just make sure Mr. Pitkin doesn't have anything to add. So, sir, we've read all the materials, including your presentation material, which came late yesterday. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the materials before we make a decision on this?
No, all I want to say just in regards to the size is, you know, keeping the black walnut tree, it was issued by the city. It's a very old tree. It's at the very end of its lifespan, but because it's a boundary tree, you know, we need consent from the neighbors, and this is in order to maintain safety for our family. So, yeah, we appreciate your time and consideration, and, you know, hopefully it satisfies. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Clay, back to you.
Thank you, sorry for,
No, go ahead.
interrupting the flow. Yeah, so I'm reasonably satisfied with that explanation, and the concession by the owner to drop it down 0.6 of a meter, I think will likely go a long way to help satisfy some of the neighbors' concerns. So I'm happy to move approval of this application, subject to forestry number 2, and with the condition that the height of the pergola be dropped by 0.6 of a meter.
And that's seconded by Mr. Nipfel? Or did you want to
Yes,
add
Madam
something
Chairman,
else?
I'm happy to second it, but in order for the condition to make sense to somebody who wasn't here, I think we should give a height, sort of say that the pergola is to not be more than, and give a height. Because dropping it down 6 meters assumes you've got this agenda in front of you, and you haven't got the agenda, so 0.6 of a meter. So could we get a height?
Mr. Pitkin, what's the actual height now that you're proposing?
So it would drop from, it would drop from 4.8 to 4.2.
Okay, so no higher than 4.2.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, so the motion is to approve the application, ensuring that the pergola does not go any higher than 4.2 meters as a condition, as well as forestry number 2, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, so your application's been unanimously approved. Okay. Item number 23, 136 Crawford Street. We have before us copies of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revisions to all of those plans received on January 24th, revised list of variances, and that was also received on the 24th, correspondence outlining supporting precedences submitted by the agent, as well as a covering letter, a number of previous decisions in the neighborhood. We have a shadow study submitted by the agent, and 2 form letters in support signed by 172 and 138, 138 being adjacent. Correspondence in opposition from number 134, which is the other adjacent neighbor, as well as 140. And I believe that's everything. Okay. Do I have the agent on the line? I don't show any speakers, panel members, other than the agent.
Yes, I'm here. It's Mary Beth Jenner speaking.
Hi. Okay.
Hello. Can
Are
hear me?
you,
Yes.
I have some notes here, so based on the notice, are you deleting variances, like variance number 1? I have in my notes, variance number 1 you want to delete, and variance number 3 you want to change it to 1.14, and then if that's the case, we need the square meters.
Yes, we are going to reduce the height to stay within the maximum permitted height, so we will eliminate variance 1 on the zoning notice, and and variance 3, the meters would change from 256.1 to 252.9 square meters, which makes the floor space index 1.14.
Sorry, it's 259 square meters?
252.9 is the revised, and the original was 256.1.
Sorry, 252.9.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then you're deleting variance 1. So we're left with variance number 2 for depth of 19.6, right? And
Yes.
and then 1.14 for the floor for the FSI.
Yes.
Okay, panel members, I don't think we need a presentation. Do any of you have any questions? Mr. Nipfel?
Could you speak to the following? It seems to me that the north side of the deck needs privacy screening. I'd be inclined to put a privacy screen on there. It appears that I'm afraid that the drawings that I got were very faint. So it looks as though you might have privacy screening, but it's so faint I can't read it. Do you have a privacy screen along the north side of the third floor deck?
Yes, we were planning to do that on the north and south sides, and in the drawings, the revised drawings that we submitted on the plans on January 24th, which are much shorter, that would probably be easier to see it there. And yes, we planned a privacy screen on both sides and discussed that design with the neighbors, whether it would be opaque or solid or angled. You can see on page.
That's much easier to read, yeah, okay. And how tall is that? It's,
Well, we had it as 80 inches, which is 6.5 feet.
we
Would you like that in
normally have
meters?
1.5, we normally have 1.5 meters, which is a little bit less than that, so.
Sure.
I'm happy with that. I think that we should either call up your drawing or put a condition about privacy screening. You seem to be agreeable to either.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, Ms. Jenner, we're ready to go into committees. Is there anything you want to add that's not covered in the materials?
No, we did revise our building lengths on the third floor, but we've always been under the minimum. So, and we have clear precedents in the neighborhood. I guess if there aren't any other presentations and you don't have any questions, then I don't have any more to say.
All right. All right, panel members, we'll take it into committee. Ms. Chan.
Yeah, I think with the deletion of one variance, and this is only, I think what they're asking for is quite modest, and then I'm happy to move approval with the condition that, well, the privacy screen on the third floor deck.
Okay. And this is as amended, so the removal of variance 1 and variance 3 has been amended to 1.14, which is 252.9 square meters. Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Niffel? Okay, so moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Niffel. All in favor? Okay, your application's been approved unanimously. Thank you. Item number 24, 188 Woodmount Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and a previous decision affecting this property. Okay, there are no speakers listed other than the agent. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, Madam Chair, Jay Smith, agent for 188 Woodmount.
Alrighty, I don't think we need a presentation. Any questions, panel members? Mr. Niffel?
Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you. Is this basically just for the platform, top of the stairs? You already got approval to enclose the front porch, and it looks to me as though you needed a platform for safety reasons, and is that what this application is primarily about?
Yes, when we went in for a permit, the zoning examiner realized that the landing had been missed in the original application and original zoning review, so we are back again literally for the front porch landing and stairs.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Any questions for Mr. Smith? Okay, we're ready to go into committees. Is there anything you have to add that's not in the submissions, Mr. Smith?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Mr. Niffel?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to move approval without condition. This is something that was missed in the previous application, clearly was intended. I don't think that there's any implications that are negative for anyone on the application.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Clay? So a motion to approve, moved by Mr. Niffel, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, can I do the next two together?
Yes, that's
Yeah?
fine.
Okay. All right, panel members, we're dealing with items 25 and 26. 25 is 86 Hubbard Boulevard. 26 is 88 Hubbard Boulevard. The materials we have before us are the same. We have a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from forestry for both properties asking for condition number 2. We have 8 form letters in support from number 78, 80, 82, 89 Hubbard, number 8 and number 21 Selwood Avenue, 18 and number 20 McLean Avenue. All right, and I am showing one observer. Okay, I'll have to check. I'm showing 3 people listed here. I'll have to check. If I can just get the agent to identify him or herself, and then I will go to the people listed to see if we need a presentation.
Yes, hello, Madam Chair. This is Miriam from Permit First, and I'm representing both 86 and 88 Hubbard Boulevard today.
Hi. Okay, I'll come back to you in a minute. I'm just going to, and you're speaking on behalf of the owner, right? I have a Tricia Thomas listed here.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Can we go to the first person? Just want to make sure.
I have Glennis.
Oh, hi. Is this Ms. Wilkins?
Yes, it is, and I'm the owner of 88 Hubbard.
Hi. Are you
I'm going to let my agent do the talking today.
your agent? So, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so you're just observing?
Yes, I am.
Alrighty, and thank you very much. So I'm gonna go to the next person, Christine Tully.
Hello?
Hi, I have a bit of an echo. Do you have something going in the background? Maybe if you can turn down the volume. Yeah, that's better. Are you opposed or are you just listening in?
I'm just listening in.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, the next speaker I have is Helen Darwin.
Hi, Miss Darwin, are you there?
I don't know how to do this.
Yes, we're here, Helen and myself, Pat.
Hi, are you also just listening in, or did you want to speak to this application?
No, we're just listening in as well.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Azimi, panel members, do you need a presentation? Do you have, no? Okay, so let's go straight to questions for both of these applications. Mr. Niffel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm interested in variance request number 4.
Right.
There's a minimum requirement of 50% soft landscaping for the rear yard, and you've only got 5.4%.
Correct.
Is there any way that you can increase the amount of soft landscaping? It appears that there is available space. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Well, to be honest, I already discussed this with the planning examiner and explained to her that prior to even starting the construction of the shed that used to be there, but due to being super old and having problems with insurance, the owners had to replace it with a new one. The landscape was as it is right now on both properties. So the landscaping hasn't changed at all. I understand that they required increasing the soft landscaping, but both homeowners, they're at an age that I really did not want to concern them regarding the landscape area, and they only had to replace the shed because it was really old, and I sent a couple of pictures showing that it was collapsed, so that's why they had to replace the existing shed. As for the landscaping, it was just like as it is today, and the planning.
What is the condition in the rear yard? What is on the ground?
On the ground, it's I have sent a couple of pictures. It is just we do have strips of soft landscaping on the sides. On 86, it's asphalt, and it's basically asphalt driveway, and on 88 Hubbard, it's just interlocks.
Okay, and there is no plan to remove any of that and provide landscaping in its place at the present time?
Quite honestly, it won't be possible because we only could maintain what we have currently. The remainder, because as you see, the rear yard is fairly small, and a big portion of it has gone to the shed and pathway to the shed. And yeah, I was hoping that we could just get it approved based on how it is right now. Because this project has been a pretty troublesome project for the owners, and we want to just make sure that the shed is replaced and they don't have to go through other difficulties.
Okay, I think that having such a small percentage of soft landscaping in the rear yard is a problem. We had an application earlier today that was in some respects similar because there was a driveway and there was no plan to replace the surface of the driveway, and the condition we placed on it was that if paving takes place or resurfacing of the driveway takes place, that it be done with permeable pavers. I'm wondering if we might consider something similar here, whereas that if any of the rear yard is resurfaced, that it be done with soft landscaping, if that might be something that would be agreeable to you. I don't know that this will be agreeable to my colleagues, but I'm wondering, speaking to your concern about not making the project any bigger than it has to be, but still
Yes.
The concern about runoff and so forth, if that might be agreeable to you.
I did discuss this with my both clients, especially with 88 Hubbard, because on 86 Hubbard, we have asphalt driveway, and as you see, this property is located the way that there is no garage, and front yard basically driveway parking is not possible. So at 86, they only have a very limited very limited amount to park one vehicle in the backyard. At 86, I did try to see if we could find space to increase the soft landscape area, because currently it is, I believe it is permeable interlock. But unfortunately, again, the only space left is for the owners to access the shed. It's just a walkway to have access to the shed, and also access to the rear side of the property, going to, like, there's kind of a walkway to 86 Hubbard. There's a gate, and yeah, the whole entire space is used to access the shed or the side property.
And on 86, there's parking in the backyard, is that correct?
Yeah, in front of the shed that has been built.
Okay, thanks.
Carl, I just want, I'm not sure the applicant understands what you're proposing. I think to make it clear, what my colleague is suggesting, not that you have to replace it right now, but
Okay.
if in the future you're planning to either resurface your driveways
Correct.
or do something to your backyard, I
Yes.
think we'd like that to be done with permeable materials rather than, yeah, so it's just that, it's not to say you have to do it now, but just in the event you do it in the future.
Absolutely. I will make sure that the owners are currently listening. Once the project in the backyard, the shed is finalized, and they would need to replace the asphalt, I'm pretty sure they would consider replacing it with permeable material. And also at 88 as well, like she really was trying to, we really tried to find the space to see if we could increase it, and definitely once the project is over and the pressure is lifted off, they would think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay. Miriam, we're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add? I think we've read all the materials, so we're aware of the issues and constraints. Is there anything that we're not aware of that you want to add before we make a decision?
Miriam, are you still there? You're unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Yes. No, I would just, I would like to know that you're in support of keeping the shed, and hopefully in the future we will finalize it and the homeowners can move on with this project.
All right, I guess you'll find out in a minute, because we're going to go into committee and make a decision on it. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, Miss, I don't know who had their hand up first, Yim or Larry?
Maybe I just make a quick comment. I understand, I mean, it's the intention of putting this condition, but I also doubt whether it is any kind of being effective, because they're not proposing to be paid for anything. It's a, we're putting a condition in the future work. I do not know how you can be enforce it, or even to ensure that it's carried out. So I'm not saying that I disagree with the condition, but I just think that the reality of it, whether it makes any sense to put in a future condition. I mean, a condition for future work.
Okay, Mr. Clay?
Yeah, I think we as a committee should, if we think the condition is warranted, then we should put it in. And I think this one is in response to such a low percentage of soft landscaping in the rear that, you know, if future works are contemplated, that we could do well to have them increase that amount of soft landscaping. I must say it on more generally, first of all, commend both owners for coming in jointly and doing this collaboratively. It's kind of really good that they're doing these things together. I initially was quite sympathetic to how small the backyards were until I looked at their front yard and realized that that's a rather glorious front yard that they have, so I guess that offsets such a small backyard. I think this is a reasonable proposal. I'd like to move approval. Do we need separate motions, Chair, or? is one
Yeah,
group
staff would like the motion separate.
Okay, so let's start with 86 Hubbard. Move approval of this application, subject to a condition that if in the future works are undertaken to resurface their driveway or rear yard, that they be done with permeable pavers or permeable materials. I'll move that motion for
And
number 86.
hang on, forestry number 2 also. It's on both.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, I didn't catch that.
no worries. Okay, so that's your motion, and Carl, was that your hand up to second it?
Yes, it is, Madam Chairman. I'm wondering, Larry, if you consider one minor suggestion. We could say permeable materials and/or soft landscaping. They may in fact decide to not pave the entire area and put a planting bed in.
Oh, by all means, that's a great suggestion, thank you.
Okay, so the motion moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Nipfel, is to approve the application with forestry condition number 2 and a condition that if any resurfacing takes place in the rear yard, that it be replaced with permeable material or soft landscaping. Okay, all in favor? Okay, so that carries unanimously. And then Mr. Clay for 88, same?
Yeah, basically the same motion, I think.
Okay, so that's exactly the same motion. All in favor? Okay, so that also carries unanimously, so thank you very much. All right, item number 27, 1265 Davenport Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, a covering letter from the agent, an arborist report by the urban forest, and correspondence in opposition by the daughter of 1267 Davenport Road. And in the supplemental agenda is where we have the forestry, the arborist report, and then the opposition from 1267 is also in the supplemental agenda. Okay. Alrighty, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, I'm here, Timothy Meekanides, the agent for the owner.
Okay, do we have the opposition on the line?
I believe we do. Do you want to check with them first?
Yeah, let me just make sure if they
Yeah.
want to speak.
Giselle Spratt, you're unmuted. This is on your phone device.
Hi, can someone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Giselle Spratt. I joined late. I was at a doctor's appointment.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, sure.
So did you want to speak, Giselle? Because if you do, I'm going to ask the agent to do a presentation first.
Yeah, I want to speak, sure.
Okay, so we'll come back to you in 5 minutes, okay? All right.
No worries.
Mr. Meekanides, can you do a
Yeah.
presentation? No more than 5 minutes, please.
Yes, of course. Perhaps you can bring up the covering letter that we submitted. It has some images of the street facade. Greeting Chair and members of the committee. I'm Timothy Meekanides, project architect, acting as agent on behalf of the client, our client Lee Parsons, owner of the property at 1265. The proposal is to add a second story to the existing one-story addition at the front of the building. The two variances that we'll be requesting, one is for overall FSI, one is for rear yard landscaping, which is an existing condition. The rear yard landscaping represents an existing condition, and we are not planning any work in the rear yard. And we have respectfully asked for leniency from the bylaw percentage of landscaping in the rear yard. That is an existing condition that we are not planning to change. For the FSI, we feel that the variance proposed is a sensible increase, much needed density that is wholly contained within the allowable building envelope on the site, and that can be verified by the fact that we're not triggering any other additional variances besides the small increase in FSI. We understand that, and we tried in terms of the design. I mean, the addition is limited to 2 stories. The addition itself is 7.5 meters in height, is far lower than the 12-meter maximum allowed on the site. And yeah, so we feel, in conclusion, we feel that considering that the existing footprint of the building is not being altered, that the overall height, depth, and building setbacks are within the limits permitted by the zoning bylaw. We believe that the variance overall FSI is appropriate for the development of the land. Obviously, the building is located in a busy and vibrant neighborhood, close to public transit and a lot of amenities. The neighborhood is undergoing discernible densification that is driven by the proximity of city services and escalating property values. We feel that that we are proposing are in line with public policy and meet the test act, and ask for your approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll have you back after we hear from the opposition. Okay, Giselle, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can. So just again, for the record, your name and address, and then you have 5 minutes.
Giselle Spratt is my name. My address is 45 LAUDER Drive, Brampton, Ontario.
Okay, but you're speaking on behalf of 1267 Davenport.
My mom and dad who have a language barrier, yeah, correct.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes. Go
They're
ahead.
at 1267 Davenport. I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand the Lee Parsons, the person who spoke, or the engineer, or whoever it was that spoke, Creative Union Network, I believe. I didn't get the height of the second story.
Okay, so we'll have him clarify that, but if you can just state all your concerns, because we don't do a back and forth.
My concern is that my parents have been there for over 40 years. They're elderly, they're 88 and 82. They get very anxious when it comes to having anything done to anything pertaining to properties next to them, immediate property 1265. So there is a driveway at the property that is actually misused at all times. There used to be a business there, TV repair business. Cars park in front of my parents' driveway or in the driveway. So their main concern is, first of all, is when the story, second story is built in the front of the dwelling at 1265, there's going to be substantial view loss from their bedroom. Usually they look up the street, and that's how they pass their time. Second of all, the sunshine, that sun that comes through the window is going to be partially blocked for them. The third concern is vehicles parked in or near my parents' driveway at 1267 Davenport Road. So things such as ladders, debris, etc., going to be part of this construction that's taking place at 1265 Davenport Road. So they're going to deny any sort of vehicles being parked in front of and including in the driveway. Any ladders or anything that's needed to construct this second-story building in the front or the back, because there is adjoining. There is the driveway that people think it belongs to 1265, but it belongs to 1267 as per the survey. So those are my concerns.
Okay, thank you. I just want to point out that we can't deal with some of the issues you're mentioning now, as well as in your letter. They're construction related, and the cars blocking the driveway. I mean, a lot of those are private issues that you'll have to work out with the neighbors, but we can ask the agent to speak to that in terms of the construction, that they don't go on the driveway, but in terms of enforcing, that's not this committee's jurisdiction, okay?
Okay, and then the other question, I had a quick question about this. So these variances that, are they considered minor variances, adding a story to the front and back?
Well, that's why they're here. That's what this committee is for, that, you know, people can come in and ask for, you know, relief from the bylaws. So the committee looks at this application and others sort of in the context of how they see it in the neighborhood and impacts and all those things. So we haven't made a decision yet, like we're listening to your concerns, and, you know, I heard you.
Okay, so.
But
okay,
like
so
I heard you express the loss of view and sunlight, and then the agent will go back to him. He will address some of the concerns you brought up. Then the members may have questions, and then we'll make a decision on the application. Okay?
All right,
All
fair
right.
enough, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Mitonides, are you there?
Yeah, if we could scroll back up to the, I have a comparison in the covering letter that shows the relative front yard setbacks of all the properties. It's on the second page there. So, just to allay some of the concerns of the neighbor, this property is to the map that we're showing here, south is facing north, it's facing upwards. They make it a little bit more confusing, but Davenport's obviously on the north side of the building. So, you know, most of the sun tracking happens from the east, across the rear of the site, and towards the west side. I don't think that the impact of the second story will have any impact on any sun access to the property. For that reason, we didn't produce any sun shadowing because, yeah, they will have no effect in that regard. In terms of the view, the property is sticking a little bit forward. The existing front yard setback is sticking a little bit forward of 1267, although it's out of character with the street. You can see that there's a lot of streets, third yard setbacks, patios. On the corners of each of the streets, there's a two-story commercial unit, which are also quite tall, similar height, 7.5 meters or taller. So I think even though it might be that the neighbors could potentially be looking over the top of the roof of 2065 currently, of the one-story addition, the actual movable view is not out of character with existing predominant building structure on the street. In terms of the parking, just to clarify, the house is newly bought by the client, our client, a year ago, so they haven't been able to use the property yet. We're still waiting for approvals. So, I can certainly sympathize with the neighbors if there's having issues with their parking, and as they said in their objection letter, that you know, that it's important to the family and to her parents because they're elderly and they need access to the nurses and for care. And we can certainly speak to, and then I'm sure our client will be applicable to any strict restrictions on any of the proposed contractors to make sure that they're not parking or blocking that driveway. We'll try our best in order to communicate that to anyone that would be potentially working on the project. And just to add to that, there are, you know, there is a two-car garage on the property, as well as an open parking space on the side, so there are quite a access from the back lane. There is quite a bit of good parking space for anyone that would be doing any construction work there, so I'm hopeful that we should be able to eliminate any impacts in terms of blocking their driveway. And obviously, it's not appropriate behavior to park their car on someone else's property, as we all know, so we'll try our best to make sure that's clear to anybody that would be working on the property. And in terms of, that there is a small strip of land, which ranges from about 60 centimeters to 1 meter on our client's property, so I think that will be more than adequate for the construction companies to service any of the work that they're doing on the west wall of the new addition, without impacting or blocking the neighbor's driveway.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Seeing none? All right, we'll take it into committee for a decision then.
Madam Chairman, I should have asked this question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Could
we'll
I
go
ask
out of
the
committee, go ahead.
agent one? Could the agent explain I realize that the rear yard is not part of the application in terms of work that's undertaken, but the variance with regard to soft landscaping is really substantial. I realize as well that that's an existing condition. On the drawing that's on the screen right now, can you explain what actually is occurring in the backyard? There's a concrete parking space beside the garage. What happens between there's a note that there's a planting bed beside the stairway. What happens between that and the garage doors, the concrete garage? On the survey, it indicates that that angled line is a planter line, and I'm trying to figure out, with the percentage of soft landscaping, I think it's something at 5%. Is that all paved? Maybe you could clarify?
Yeah, so part of the initial zoning, we submitted our zoning review application, and we got back a number of percentage, which we also found odd at 2%. So we asked for a revision of that notice, and I received the new notice, and I had assumed that the committee would also be receiving the updated notice for the proper landscaping, because the soft landscaping was reviewed lower than it actually exists on the site. So obviously we'll be maintaining the existing soft landscaping, which is more in the order of 18%, 26.5 square meters of the rear yard.
Can we change that then in the variance? That makes more sense. So instead of 2% and 3.48 square meters, you said it's 18%?
Correct, 18%, 26.5 square meters.
Okay, so are you revising that then?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions then? And if not, we'll go back into committee. All right, we're back into committee. Any comments or motion or both? Carl?
Madam Chairman, I really like this application. I think it's been well thought out. It's a good use for the property. I think that the neighbors will find that with the residential use, it will probably be less of a bother than the current use. I was concerned with the percentage of soft landscaping. I'm happy to see that in fact it's higher than we were originally given. The only concern that I have now is with the deck, second floor deck. I'd like to put forward a motion of approval, but I'd like to suggest that there be 1.5 meter screening, privacy screening on the, I guess it's the east and the west sides of the second floor deck.
Okay. So is that a motion then?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the application as amended. Variance number 2 will now read 18%, which equals 26.5 meters squared, and 1.5 meter screening on the east and west side of the second floor deck, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Okay, your application's been unanimously approved with those conditions. Item number 28, 66 Hambly Avenue. Committee has before it copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a previous decision affecting the property at 9 Schofield Avenue. Staff report from forestry. they're asking for condition number 1. Community planning is recommending refusal. And we have opposition from 305 Kenilworth, number 195 Lee, 59 Hambly, and 187 Lee, as well as 4 form letters in opposition, signed by 6163 Hambly and 185 Lee Avenue. And let me just check the supplemental here. Okay, no, that's everything that we have before us. I'm showing 3 speakers, okay? Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, you do. Peter Brown here.
Hi, can I ask you to do presentation, please? No more than 5 minutes. I'm showing 3 opposition speakers.
You can, yes.
Okay, go ahead. We'll start the clock when you start speaking. Before you start, is there anything you need us to put up?
No, I don't believe so. As long as everybody's reviewed the documentation, there's nothing to look at while I speak.
Alrighty, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and honorable councilors. Thank you for hearing my minor variance request today. My name is Peter Brown. I own Bonavista Pools Limited, a builder of custom concrete swimming pools that has served the GTA for almost 50 years. I'm here representing my clients, Jessica and Ellie Muzon, who own the property at 66 Hambly Avenue, which sits at the corner of Hambly Avenue and Williamson Road in Beaches, East York. Due to the unique nature of this corner lot property and where the home was situated on it when it was built over 100 years ago, there is no backyard proper by any definition that we would all consider to be as such. My clients are seeking your approval today for 2 minor variances that would allow them to build a conservative swimming pool and hot tub in what officially exists as their front yard instead. To be clear, my clients would like to build a swimming pool for their children. However, the only place that their property would allow for this is in the front yard. So a bit of background for you. In December of 2018, Jessica and Ellie bought this 100-year-old home and were excited to learn that they and their 2 children would be just the 5th family to ever live there. The home was in a state of serious disrepair when they purchased it, and they immediately undertook a massive renovation that lasted 3 years, wrapping up in December 2021. At great expense to them, they worked hard to preserve the original architecture, to preserve the original architectural integrity of the home and exterior facade, placing leaded windows with leaded windows and resurfacing much of the original slate roof with identical new slate. The renovation costs have far exceeded the original purchase price of the home because they were creating their forever home for them and their 2 children. All of the new neighbors, except obviously those speaking in opposition today, which I was unaware of, that they've met, they absolutely love how they've improved the property and brought the aesthetic of this corner lot back to its former glory. Their enthusiasm and support of this request is indicated by the sheer volume of letters of support submitted for your consideration. I think there were 9 or 10. The neighbors are all well aware that whatever work the Muzon family will undertake will be completed with the utmost of care and good faith. Great care has been taken during the landscape design phase to restore and maintain clear visibility for pedestrians and motorists around that corner of Hambly and Williamson. My clients have already removed the towering and unsightly cedar hedge that restricted sight lines in that corner, which is shown on this plan on the screen right now as that dark gray crosshatched shrubbery there. That's gone now. And the intention is to maintain this as clear space to maintain open visibility around that corner. Neighborhood safety has also been given the utmost consideration, as all pool enclosure bylaw requirements will be maintained and strictly adhered to. It's important to note that the city has recently approved a very similar request to allow a pool to be located in the front yard of a corner lot at 9 Schofield Avenue in the University of Rosedale ward. There again, it was important that sight lines around the corner be maintained and the property enclosure was in keeping with current bylaw for neighborhood safety. This matter was approved on December 10th, 2020, so very recently. As city councilors worked so hard to reconsider our use of space here in the city, such as row home allowances for properties with alleyways running behind them, we sincerely hope that you will consider the unique and novel approach to use of space on this property as well. My clients would really like a place for their 8 and 10-year-old children to safely swim, play, exercise, and simply enjoy the outdoors in the comfort of their own home on their own property. They love the city, and they do not want to join the growing number of people that drive north for a summer weekend getaway. As I've said, the home has been a labor of love for my clients, and they intend to live here for years and years to come. They simply have no other options to bring all of the benefits of aquatic ownership into their lives. They don't have a backyard and have had to work creatively to find a solution given this challenge. We truly hope that you'll grant them that opportunity. Thank you for your time, and I'd be delighted to answer any questions you might have.
I think we're going to hold questions until after we hear from the opposition, but we'll have you back to address the opposition's concerns also.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, Mr. McDonnell.
Yes.
Hi, I just, before you start, I need you to state your name and address for the record, and then we'll start the clock. You'll have 5 minutes.
I'm Brian McDonald. I'm at 195 Lee Avenue, which corners on Williamson Road, which is across the road from the property.
Okay, go ahead.
I dispute the previous speaker's point regarding the front yard that was approved in Rosedale. The application said front yard, but if you look at the drawings of the property in Rosedale, it is in fact at the back of the side yard. There is no pool in the front yard. There is no application for a pool in the front yard. The application letter is in error. It asked for a front yard pool and gave drawings for rear and side yard. And I suggest that there is no precedent that has been offered, whether it's Schofield Avenue in Rosedale or any place else in the city of Toronto. There's no precedent that has been identified for a front yard pool. And I suggest that this one should be dismissed summarily because it is so outlandish that there be a front yard pool in an area that's across the road from a school. It's across the road from a swimming pool. The previous speaker spoke about driving a distance to swim. They simply have to walk across the road to a swimming pool, the kids at this property. And I would suggest that if the owners, there's been quite a lot of opposition as documented here. If the owners are serious, that they should consider withdrawing this application rather than having it rejected.
Okay.
I don't think I've anything more to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, any questions of the speaker? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonnell. Do I have Dan Desmarais on the phone?
Dan is here.
Hi, Dan. What's your full name and address for the record?
It is Daniel Desmarais, owner of 59 Hambley Avenue.
Okay, we're starting the clock now. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to start by making some comments about the presentation. There was a note about the home not having a backyard when it was built. When the home was built over 100 years ago, it did have a backyard. It and the rear property behind it on Lee Avenue at some point severed the property and effectively created what would be, I guess, a laneway property today, and that's why their property is not the same depth as their neighbors. Most of the neighborhood properties on both sides of Hambley are 125 feet. So this house, when built, had a backyard, and it was severed for whatever reason. I would also disagree that the home, when purchased, was in a state of disrepair. I did view the property when it was for sale, both in 2001 and when it was purchased. It had a number of bedrooms, maybe not in the best orientation, and it had been updated, but the home was not in a state of disrepair. That's an objection, or I guess a non-qualified statement from that. In terms of the sheer volume of people that have supported this, I think there was 9 letters that were really the form letters. Only 3 of those were homes that would have been sent the full package by the city. So I would suggest that perhaps the others didn't actually have a full review, because you really had to go online to get the file and get the file properties. I did take the chance to submit 2 different letters. I submitted my first one and then took a drive to Rosedale, and I'll agree with the former speaker, or the prior speaker, that the Schofield property, and if you choose to bring up my letter, you can go to pages 4, 5, and 6. You can clearly see that the front of the property is the west of the property. And if you did not know that there was a pool built there, which I actually couldn't see at the property, now if you were to zoom in on that one, you will see that that is clearly the front of the house. That page is the side of the house. And then the third picture is actually from the neighbors. So that's from the neighbors looking from the northeast. So there might be a pool behind there. You cannot tell. And if you scroll up the one page, that's from the north. That would be the side yard. And you can actually see the street signs there to verify that. And if you scroll up a little bit more, you're going to see a driveway, a front door, a mailbox, the number 9. That's the front of the house. So I also agree that this submission as a precedent is not a precedent. From there, I have, pages of more objections about the school, the bus stop, the one-way street and the left turn, and how it's already a problem. I don't want to use up my full 5 minutes. I think you've probably read that information. I think this is far from a minor variance and should just be summarily dismissed as this is not minor. This is not appropriate, and we could soon have hot tubs dotting, way too many places around the city. I'll wrap up with that and save any spare time for questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker or panel members? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. And I'll go to the final speaker. Do you have him on the line? Mr. Johnson, are you there? Hang on, I can barely hear you. Can you speak up? And also I need your address for the record and your full name.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better, but still not great.
Greg Johnston, 238 Geneva Avenue. My concern is the left-hand turn for people who drive up Hambley. With the current fence that's there, it's very difficult to see from the left-hand side, and motorists tend to creep well into the intersection. And my main concern is that putting an even larger fence around that and bringing it out will just impair people's vision even more. I have 2 small children who go to school, and they've nearly been hit a number of times at that intersection because of the vantage point. So I'd suggest if you do go ahead and approve, to make some fence modifications to really push it back and improve the line of sight, because it is quite dangerous.
Okay, thank you. I would just say to you that if you have sightline concerns, you contact the transportation department, because that's under their jurisdiction. Okay, and they can take a look at that. Okay, can I have, Mr. Brown, are you there?
I am, yes.
Alrighty, you have 5 minutes to speak to the concerns that were raised, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for the neighbors' concerns. It's always good to talk about these things. So I wasn't trying to be deceptive at all by bringing in Schofield. The city defined that pool as being in the front yard, which is why the minor variance was required for that one. So this pool is only similar in that it is towards the front and to the side. It's sort of off kitty corner to the front of the house, just like that. They are different streets. Yes, Schofield is a swooping curve. This one is an actual intersection. I do appreciate the photos of Schofield, and I like how they've created privacy for themselves with planting and the fencing. We're not looking to achieve the same look, because that would block the view around the corner, which has been raised as a concern. And we're not going to try to do that. So our fencing will sit back of the actual corner, and there will be no planting and things like that to create this privacy. However, we do intend to create privacy for the swimming pool, so it's not like this pool is gonna be on full display for all those walking by. There are a number of there was a couple of concerns raised about the fact that the property is in proximity to a school. It's really of no value. I mean, there are no setbacks of residential swimming pools from properties with schools. Whether this pool was in a backyard right next to a school or in a front yard right next to a school, it's still got to have a pool enclosure around it, and this one will. So we will keep my clients' children safe and any neighborhood children safe as well, because it will have an approved pool enclosure around it. The fact that the property was severed before, I understand that now. Thank you for the education. That was done before my clients purchased the property. So they purchased a property with no backyard. We can't put a pool in the backyard. This is the only place to build a swimming pool, which is why we're here. And I think that is all that I have to respond.
Okay, Ms. Chan has a question. Go ahead.
My question is, your pool enclosure fence, on your drawing, it says that with either it's glass or wrought iron. Can you give me more details as to how high this fence is, and whether it is glass or wrought iron, or if it's glass? Is it frosted glass? Because you have mentioned that you do want to have privacy to your pool. I just more concerned with what people will see from the sidewalk, whether they see a fence or a glass fence or a wrought iron fence. Can you give us some more detail on that, please?
Sure, yes, yeah. So we will be using, there was some debate about what type of fencing we should use. We've now landed on a black wrought iron fencing, so it's built to regulation, which is 1.2 meters high, 4 feet high, and with picket space that's about, I think there are 3.5 inches of space between each wrought iron picket. We will be planting small shrubbery and grasses next to that fence, on the inside of the fence, some on the outside of the fence, but everything low to maintain visibility for drivers. So nothing higher than 1.2 meters, certainly, and it all would be light and airy plantings, so that visibility isn't completely restricted like a cedar or spruce hedge like you've seen elsewhere.
Which means that on the sidewalk, when you look at the house from the sidewalk, you won't see the pool, or you will see the pool?
It won't be as hidden as the one that the pictures were shown on Schofield. It will be visible, right? It won't, yeah, we're gonna have to obviously work to create as much privacy as possible without restricting visibility around that corner.
Mr.
So
Niffel.
whether that means more dense planting on the east side, facing that sidewalk on Hambly, and then as soon as you get to the corner proper, past the swimming pool, we could lower and lighten up the plantings in that area.
Okay, Mr. Niffel, you had a question?
Do you have approval from the city to place fencing on the boulevard? If you looked at the site plan, if the fence was to follow your property line, then the objections about sight lines going around the intersection wouldn't be an issue. But the fence protrudes way into the boulevard. You need some kind of municipal approval to erect the fence on that land, do you not? And do you have such an approval?
We don't have approval to put fencing where it's shown on this plan. And we could put it right on the property line, absolutely. So that would still be in keeping with the pool enclosure bylaw, which requires the fencing stay 1.2 meters back from the swimming pool. And we could do that. This is merely a suggestion for where the actual fence goes.
And you were going to approach the city about approval for the fence, for use of the boulevard for fencing?
I would definitely approach the city for that. I didn't want to waste anybody's time until we knew we could build an actual swimming pool here.
But to the concern of, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten which gentleman it was, but the gentleman that was referring to making a left-hand turn off of Hambley, if you look at your site plan, you can see his concern. You would, of course, be agreeable then to pulling that fence way back into the property than as shown on this site plan, because his concern, as I was reading it, was with the way it's drawn up here. You could, in fact, bring the fence considerably closer to the house.
So the existing fence that was there is erected basically where we've drawn our line. That's why we just fenced there. We were going to replace that old fence with new wrought iron fence that you can see through. And of course, we'd have to get the city's approval to put it on that boulevard. If we needed to pull it back closer to the pool, we could do that.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none, let's take it into committee. Mr. Clay.
Sure, I'll start. I'm not sure if my opinion is going to be shared by my colleagues, but I actually agree with the planning staff on this one. In my experience, swimming pools, in-ground pools, are usually in the rear and sometimes on the side. I'm all for animating front yards, but I think, placing a pool in the front yard is a contravention of what municipal bylaws and municipal OPs are suggesting, and particularly on a corner lot. And I just think it's an inappropriate use for a front yard. It just seems to be an anathema of what a normal front yardscape along a street should be. As I say, I'm not against animating front yards, particularly when you have limitations in the rear yard. To me, this just seems like it's one step beyond what is reasonable, and I would agree with city planning on this one.
Mr. Niffel and then Ms. Chan.
I agree with my colleague, Mr. Clay, and also support the planning department. There's no way that I want to make a recommendation that's contrary to this kind of a planning department recommendation. I also think that if you applied front yard swimming pools on other sites, you could end up with streetscapes that are completely eradicated as open green space, and I think that that's wrong, and as Larry indicated, that is a principle that the official plan and the bylaw are attempting to enunciate. So I'll be supporting the planning department on this one as well.
Ms. Chan.
Yes, I've been waiting to serve. I didn't want to be the first one to put a negative comment. I do agree with all the analysis and the reasoning on the planning report, and I do believe this is a departure from what the existing landscape is. And I was a little bit bothered by the proposal because of the fence, one of the area where the fencing is not even in their property. And when you investigate more, they do not know whether they want to have privacy or whether they have visibility. So I'm not too comfortable with the proposal anyway, so I'm in support of refusal on this.
Okay. Who's moving a motion? Anybody? Mr. Clay?
Sure, I started this. I'm happy to move a motion to refuse this application.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Chan. All right, motion to refuse, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? Okay, your application has been refused. Thank you. Item number 29, 310 Lauder Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Forestry is recommending refusal. I read refusal variance 2 and 5. And we had correspondence from Transportation Services also, and right-of-way management. Okay, do I have the agent on the line? I don't have any speakers.
Yes, hi, my name is Roy Chen. I'm from Zero Degree Studio. I am the representative for the owner.
Okay, you're aware of the recommendations by Forestry?
Yes, actually, the client is okay to remove item number 2 for parking space in front because currently they are working with a separate agent to deal with the city with regards to the licensing for the front yard parking. So that will be okay. Forestry then request to deny parking space up front. We're okay without it at the moment. I think that we are requesting for the front yard setback because the client wanted to build enclose a portion of the existing porch to give them more space for an entrance.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions for the applicant? Carl, did you have a question? You look very serious. I'm not sure if you,
I'm just trying to make sure that I understand what we still have. So the parking space is gone, which
Yeah.
is what Forestry and Transportation objected to. But you're still including the enclosing of the front porch, the rear ground floor deck, and the third-story addition. Is that, and a rear balcony?
right, so the purpose stays the same, right? And then we still have variance number 1 only,
That's correct.
okay, which is for the front yard setback, 3.44 meters. So we're dealing with 1 variance, Carl.
Yeah. Madam Chairman, unless others have concerns, my concerns were with the parking, both from the landscape point of view and from the transportation point of view. I do not have any difficulty with the 1 remaining variance, and unless my colleagues do, I'd like to move approval.
Sure. Just before you do that, Mr. Chan, is there anything you want to add that wasn't covered already in what the materials we have?
No.
All right, so yeah, we're in committee. Carl, go ahead with your motion.
I'm sorry, I was.
That's
jumping the
okay.
gun. I'd like to move approval of the 1 remaining variance, so therefore the altered application. I don't think that variance is going to create any kind of hardship for the neighborhood or the community, and I think it's consistent with policies that promoting. I'm moving approval without any conditions.
Okay, motion to approve the amended application, which is variance number 1 only for the front yard setback, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Ms. Chan. Is that correct?
So this question, is the open forestry condition being eliminated too?
Yeah,
It's been
it would be gone,
deleted? Okay.
I believe. Is that,
That's okay.
yeah, I've just confirmed with staff, so that's gone. Because they were recommending refusal because of the parking spot.
Okay.
So so you're
I will
okay then?
second that, yeah.
Okay, so that's moved by Mr. Nifel, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? Okay, the application's been approved as amended. Item number 30. 207 Rosemary Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Presentation materials from Mr. Wengel. The agent, I don't show any speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's Richard Wengel, I'm the architect.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? No? Okay, do you have any questions for Mr. Wengel? Anybody? Okay, Mr. Wangle, your materials are really good, as always, so I commend you on that. We've read everything. We're ready to make a decision. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the materials submitted?
No, Madam Chair, I think we've spoke with planning, there is no issue, neighbors have no issues, so I think it does meet the 4 tests, and we're happy that the committee can decide on this. Thank you.
Okay. We're in committee, panel members. Mr. Clay.
Sure, I'll start on this one. This is a neighborhood with large lots, large homes on them. I thought the design, I'll always defer to Carl on design, but I thought the design was actually quite good, very attractive, fits in well with the neighborhood, the street. I have no problems with this application, and I'm happy to approve, make a motion to approve. I don't think there are any conditions.
Nope, there are not.
Fairly safe. I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Okay, that's seconded by Mr. Nipfel. So motion to approve, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Item number 31, 42 Hopedale Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations and presentation materials from Mr. Wengel. We have email correspondence from the TRCA. They say there's no permits required and they're okay with the application. Forestry's asking for condition number 3. 6 form letters in support from 31, 32, 36, 40, which is adjacent Hopedale, as well as 31 and 33 Beechwood Drive, and 31 Hopedale. We have opposition from 44, which is the other adjacent neighbor, and 46 Hopedale Avenue. And let me just check the supplemental agenda. We received materials in our supplementary agenda, as well as form letters in support, which I already listed, I believe, the addresses for that. So I'm showing 2 speakers on this one. Do we have them? I'm sorry, the owner, so we don't. So we have 44 Hopedale or not? Okay. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Joel Gerber, the architect for the project.
All right, sir, I have 1 speaker, the neighbor at 44 listed in opposition. So can you give us a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, please? And we're starting the clock. Go ahead.
If you'd be so kind just to open up the supporting presentation that was shared, it will help describe some of the strategic massing of the house.
Okay.
That's great, thanks.
All right, go ahead.
The project was started back in 2019, where we had canvassed the neighborhood and ultimately decided to working with the clients to shrink the proposal. For instance, the existing building length of the proposed is actually less than what is there currently. Number 40 to the south is currently under construction, and as a reference project, there was 4 fairly humble, in our opinion, variances that we were seeking. The rear yard setback relative to the laneway suite was kind of a byproduct of an angled property line. Working with kind of the turning radiuses of the vehicles, it was what we felt was a good compromise. You know, the FSI of the overall building is 0.73 versus 0.6, which is a little bit less than previous precedents at 40 and 43 Hopedale with 0.75 and 0.9 FSI. The side yard setback was merely capturing the existing condition. With the new construction, shoring would be put into place almost identical to what the neighbors at 40 Danforth, what 40 Hopedale currently have for their construction project. I know that there was some concern with the neighbor at 44 about the risks associated to their home, and I guess professionally we we wanted to recommend or suggest that a structural engineer, licensed in Ontario, is required to design the shoring to mitigate any adverse effects on any neighboring properties. With regards to, I guess they have some existing basement issues at 44 that we can talk about later. The building height, which we're quite dear about, at 9.73 meters, with the main wall trying to comply with the zoning, we sculpted the building in such a way that the partial third story is not very visible from the street. It's a humble presence with a sloping roof away from the sidewalk, and understanding from many other projects the access to daylight, access to sunlight, etc., shadowing of neighboring properties was very important for the homeowners. So if you scroll down a page or two to the rear massing, you can see how we've terraced the house as strategically as possible to maximize the daylight to the neighboring properties to the north from that morning sun. There are some very large trees at the rear of the property, which may ultimately do more, damage in the winter months to daylight, but you can see that every floor of the building is terraced away from the laneway to promote that open sight line and open access to daylight. There also was some concern about the patio from some of the neighbors. We were very gentle with conforming to the zoning with regards to the patio. That was why it wasn't made a variance, but understanding that there is a privacy concern, we tried to respect that. There was also a comment about a future laneway house and access to snow plowing. I mean, I don't pretend to be a snowplow consultant, but I would hope that, if a neighboring property decided also to build a laneway house, that the snow removal would be accommodated no differently than it is today. Talked about shoring, about privacy, and I guess it's also important to note just that the pushing back of the front elevation as opposed to 40 Hopedale was a solution to try to minimize the impact on the street. So, that was kind of our presentation in a nutshell. I'd be happy to shed light on any concerns and questions. The one thing that stuck out to us was the concern of the 30 feet high, 5 foot wide wall blocking the existing neighboring house. When we overlaid the drawings just to verify, it was actually less than a foot that the third floor extends past the existing neighbor's house. So the impacts might not be as severe as one was afraid. So that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll hold our questions till after we hear from the opposition. Mr. Mance, are you there?
Yes, thanks for muting me.
Okay, can you just state your name and address for the record, and then we'll start the clock? You have 5 minutes.
Yes, it's Michelle Mance here. I'm the owner of 42 Hopedale Avenue.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, generally what's going on here is I don't have a problem with the front view, or the rear view. It's really it's really from both the north and south, or from my perspective, I suppose, and 42 Oakdale, the southern view. I mean, it's a one-story house today, so I have a deck out the back, as you've seen in the documentation I provided. I'm going to be looking at a significant wall. So I'm really now moving into an alleyway. My backyard has now become an alleyway. I've got this significant wall with the dwelling proposed at 42 Hopedale, and the laneway suite is a 2-story building as well, with 0 setback, by the way, on the side, which, from what I understand, the research I've done, is that it is that's okay. You can have a 0 setback on the side of the garage building. So I'm going from a wall that I'm looking on my southern exposure, right? And the we'll have to look, the measurements I didn't see a foot from the 3rd floor. I saw more so than that. But here, you know, that I guess will be debatable. But what's not debatable is a 31-foot wall that I'm gonna be looking at the 3rd floor level. Then the 2nd floor is much higher than the 1st floor that exists there. It's a bungalow. Then I have all from there towards the west will be a set of trees and then a 2-story garage. So I'm basically in a tunnel where the patio looks right over my hot tub on my deck. I look to, as I said, to the south, I see a wall, which the setback they want to put to the existing place where it is today. And you see how narrow we have the distance between the houses today. I think it's just unreasonable. I think the dwelling could be reduced in size and meet the overall requirement or proposal. I guess, you know, in Toronto now, we're trying to increase our density, which is fine, but now we're asking for variances to make that dwelling bigger, and we have a 2-story garage. Like, which is it? If we're gonna allow the 2-story garage and have increased density in our city, is fine, but why does the dwelling have to be expanded to beyond where they need variances? Can't they just stay within the variances and the setbacks? I mean, I just don't understand why I have to endure looking at these walls constantly. So what I'm gonna have to do if you guys approve this is now I'm gonna probably have to look at cutting some trees in my backyard, which, you know, we're all trying to reduce our carbon footprint, but no, you know, as I lose my view of the sky and my view of my backyard. So again, it's not I have a problem with the front and back as it's been proposed here to the landscape of the street, for instance, you know. And by the way, my last thing in terms of snow removal, we don't have any snow removal. It's all done locally. We do not have the city that comes in and plows our laneway at all. And that's not just the last snowstorm we had. We don't have it. So if I put a garage, a double garage, right, with the 2-floor, and he starts putting the 2-floor garage, now where are we gonna put all this snow? Anyway, that's kind of a lesser issue, but it's really about what I am now forced to look at. I'm forced to look in summary of a patio. Walls on now both sides, on the south side and the existing. I already have a neighbor on the other side that has extended back their 2-story as well. So I just think it's unreasonable. I think the owner can stay within the confines of what's been defined and requesting a variance for the overall space for maintaining the setbacks today. It should go back to 1.2 meters.
Okay, Mr. Mance, you're over 5 minutes, so can you wrap up?
Thank you, that's fine.
You're good? Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? No? Okay. Mr. Gerber, you there?
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you, you know, for those comments. If you'd be so kind to look at page 7 of the presentation material, or the supplementary material. Perfect. Oh, up 1 page, I think. Yeah. I guess, you know, in kind of closing remarks, this graphic is quite telling, and I guess, well, the one thing I failed to mention in the introduction is that, you know, the laneway housing concept is a byproduct of an evolving city, incorporating a garage as well as that extra unit of dwelling in a proximity to PAPE with the transit development, you know, coming around the corner. I don't think that it's important to not dismiss that. You can see how the house under construction at 40 Danforth is quite a bit further in building length, which creates that similar situation to 42 as 42 does to 44. And in relationship, I guess, you know, with 42 coming to the table a little bit later, it's almost unfortunate where 46 had already created an addition, creating that wall to the north, and 40 had already created that very large massing to the south. You know, we tried to find a happy middle ground whereby the FSI got distributed to an additional story while we terraced the house back, so that it maybe wouldn't feel as oppressive or as dark for the neighbors to the north. And yeah, you know, other than that, the supplementary information kind of speaks for itself in terms of what the actual heights of the walls are at 20 feet as opposed to 30 feet. And, you know, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
All right, let's see if there are any panel members. Any questions for Mr. Gerber? No? Okay, if there are no, oh, Mr. Niffel, go ahead.
I have one question. The gentleman from 44, I thought many of his concerns I don't agree with, but I do think his comment about the side yard setback is reasonable. The side yard setback on his side, which is your north side yard setback, is extremely narrow. I think it's 0.39, and the existing bylaw condition, if I'm not mistaken, is 1.2.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm inclined to, I don't have difficulty with the rest of the application, but I'm not inclined to vote in favor of variance number 3. I think that the side yard setbacks that are proposed are actually too small to allow for breathing space between the properties and also maintenance around the properties. And I'm wondering if you feel there's any flexibility, particularly on the north side, in providing for a slightly larger side yard setback.
It's definitely something that we could discuss. My fear with situations like this from past experience is that when the side yard setback for new construction becomes too great, the tendency of building fences would exacerbate the benefit of the shared lot. And I'm not suggesting that that's what happened here necessarily, but you know, I guess it's at your discretion. We've done projects with smaller setbacks that were existing, you know, where we do renovations or what have you, and so we had felt that it was reasonable to maintain existing as opposed to shrink it. I mean, shrinking it from existing would probably be a far cry, but the access does promote traffic through there. Maintenance level basis.
You have 0.62 on the south. That's your south property, your side yard setback. I'm wondering if you had 0.62 on the north, if that would be manageable. I think that would be an improvement.
Yeah, I mean that's a very fair comment. I believe that the access to the south is a right of way as opposed to a more simpler setback. I just have to double check that with the survey, but there may be an issue with the right of way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Clay.
Can I follow? Yeah, Paul raised an interesting point. So I just want to understand it from my perspective. So the access for 42 from the front to the rear, that would normally be on the south side, right? In between 42 and 40?
Correct.
Is that correct? And the access for 44 into their backyard, I'm assuming be then on their north side, it looks like there's a driveway.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, the access for those two houses are on either side, so, Carl, are you thinking of a different setback for access? Or?
I'm just trying to separate the houses and give them a bit more breathing room. It's an issue that actually I feel strongly about in a number of applications today, where I think that the proposed side yard setback is making the situation rather cumbersome for an adjacent owner. In this case, I think the gentleman is very close to the property line, and then the new side yard setback is the smaller of the two. I just think there's some benefit in having a bit more space between the houses, both visually from the street, but also in terms of being able to move around between the properties. I'm not proposing it so that you can get a driveway up there. I realize the driveways are on the other side.
Ms. Chan, you want to weigh in on this?
I want to add to it. If you look at the survey, well, the 0.39 is existing setback. It's already narrowed there. You go to, go up north, on the north setback, near the front of the house. It's 0.39, so it is actually a existing condition, but then they, of course, they make it longer. I mean, the proposed house is longer than 44.
But it's a new build,
So-
right, the proposed, so.
Yeah, this new build, but are they using the existing foundation? or
I
something,
don't
or
know. Mr. Gerber, are they using the
Yeah.
existing foundation, or are you starting from
I
scratch?
just mentioned, that's true, but I just like to mention that it is, the existing condition is
No,
also
I'm
narrow.
aware that that's existing dimension, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add, from our perspective, to do this project safely, and surely shoring is gonna be required. So the majority of the existing foundation wall would be replaced with a more robust shoring system. That was kind of the plan. We haven't resolved all those details. We had issued for a zoning certificate, and we learned through the canvassing process and neighbor consultation that 44 does have some existing basement issues that were raised. I'm not sure exactly what, but so in good faith, we would be obligated to put a shoring system to retain our project from any adjacent properties.
So
But
Carl, how many?
sorry, I failed to make one point, that the existing proposal is actually a shorter house. The overall building length we decreased, so that the impact on the neighbor, at least, if he were to look from his backyard down the aisleway, the actual existing condition will be improved in the proposed by having a less building length.
Okay, Larry?
Yeah, I'm just trying to probe this a little bit. This is kind of a new issue for me. I'm trying to understand it. So Carl, how many inches, if you get the setback that you're thinking about, how many inches would that be? Sorry, I'm an old-fashioned inches rather than meters guy.
That would be, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have
Can I
a
help?
calculator to figure it out.
Can I help?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
16 inches.
Yeah, 16 inches. The 3.39 is 16 inches. If you want them to move back to 0.6, it's about 2 feet. But don't forget, there's also some distance from the property line to number 44. The actual distance will be larger than the setback.
Right. Okay, any other questions?
My question to the applicant is, if we take Kyle's suggestion that to increase the setback on the north side, is there a possibility to do that for you, or?
My
no?
only, I would would greatly prefer not to, simply from the time and the effort trying to make a very efficient floor plan. I defer to the committee, of course, but to gain a couple of inches for maintenance relative to the daily, lifestyle or the daily use of the interior, I would have a personal preference to maintain that existing. So the condition that's existing as opposed to worsened, in fact improved because it's less of a long building. That would be my personal preference in all honesty.
Okay. Any other questions, panel members? Okay, let's take it into committee. Mr. Clay?
Oh, okay, so I sympathize with Carl's point, I on the one hand. On the other hand, it just seems like a lot of angst for very minimal gain. And then it is the existing footprint that they're trying to build on. It's not changing the wall from its current location. So I'm okay with the proposal as submitted, but I'll defer to my colleagues.
Ms. Chan?
Yes, actually, I have the same feeling as Larry because I will accept the existing condition, and I do appreciate the applicant tell us that the new proposal is actually shorter. The house is shorter, and also I believe it is actually making the condition better, and it took, I'm not too concerned about increasing a few inches. But then it will make the proposal, we have to revise the data, and I'm not too sure I want to go down that road.
Mr. Nipfel?
Madam Chairman, I would agree with Larry. I think that this would be preferable with a wider side yard, but I wanted to explore with the applicant the opportunity of increasing the side yard and what would be involved. And it does sound as though it would be problematic in terms of bringing this project on stream. And it is an existing condition, so I'd be prepared to support it as is. I do think that going forward, I'm going to be looking for larger side yards, because I think that we are making a mistake in a lot of these applications by creating incredibly narrow spaces between homes that are problematic. I don't think that this one falls into that category. I think it would be preferable with a slightly larger side yard. I don't think it is creating a problem here that we need to address. So I'm prepared to support if that was a motion, Larry's motion.
I don't know.
Yeah, oh, sorry, Chair.
No, I was gonna say, I don't think it was a motion yet, but go ahead.
No, the other thing I just want to acknowledge, that let's not forget there's a laneway suite here, and the proposal as submitted was a very minor variance to that. So for all intents and purposes, the laneway proposal was almost as of right, which I think is a good feature of this as well. So with that all said, I'm happy to move approval of this application subject to forestry condition number 3, I think it was.
Yep, it is.
I didn't see the standard, engineering conditions for municipal address and such.
Maybe just put them in, just in case, but yeah, I didn't see an engineering report either.
Okay, and so similar, subject to the standard engineering conditions for laneway suites.
Okay, are you seconding, Ms. Chan?
Yes.
All right, so a motion to approve, including the forestry number 3, standard engineering conditions, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved with those conditions. Okay, item number 32. Okay, hold on one second here. I think. Okay, item number, now I'm totally confused here. Just give me a second. maybe it's just me. You know what, I'm missing HILLHOLM, that's why.
I have us on 32, Chair.
Yeah, I think it's okay, just let me sort this out. I think my, they got just a second. Okay, sorry folks, it's a bit of a mix-up with the addresses here. So, the next item is item 32, which is 46 HILLHOLM Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Those were all revised and sent in, received January 18th. We have a revised zoning notice sent in the same day, an arborist report from Lakeshore Tree Services, presentation, supporting materials, and more presentation materials from Mr. Wangle, the agent. We have a form letter in support from 25 Old Forest Hill Road. And we have correspondence in opposition from number 44. And, okay, then we received more presentation materials in the supplementary agenda, as well as form letters in support. And, okay, that's all the material we have before us. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, Madam Chair, Richard Wangle. I'm the architect and agent.
Okay, sorry, bear with me. Now my mouse is being crazy. All right. Okay, so in my notes I have that, so variance number 1, which it does show in our notice, was amended to 11.49 meters, and then variance number 2 was removed. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair, and that was just a result of a change in the design of the elevation and a discussion with the planning department who supported our change.
Okay, I am showing a speaker, so if I can just have you bear with me for a second, I just want to make sure that this person wants to speak, and if so, we'll need a presentation.
Yes, Madam Chair. Hello, my name is Amir Zaid.
Okay, and you're at 44 HILLHOLM?
Yes, my address is 44.
And you're in opposition and you want to speak, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll come back to you in 5 minutes, all right? Mr. Wangle will give us a presentation.
Madam Chair, I'll try to be very brief. If we can just bring up the presentation material, the amended material.
Okay, just give us a second.
No worries. And if we could just go to page number 3, which is our site plan, and I'll be able to address it. So this is a proposal for a new 3-story home. And just to be clear, the person in opposition is actually a son of a former client of ours that we designed the house immediately beside. And when we had done that house, we had gone for a 1-story additional length, and we just decided designed this house, book mat, almost essentially the same design in terms of massing. We know there's a garage at the very back of the property that you serve. We're now going to be changing its location. We do want to repurpose that garage into a seasonal cabana, not for habitation, but just for summer use, pool. We can just go to the next page. This just shows the survey that shows the relation of the two homes. This is a stat sheet just showing typical density have been approved at or greater, and should we go to our neighbor's home, we're seeking 0.83, and the neighbor is actually seeking at 0.9, 0.05. That page number 5 shows length of dwelling, and again we are asking for a comparable length of approximately 26.93. That's basically due to the extended one-story. Page number 6 will just show front elevation. And just to show we're asking for a slight height variance, very minor, again, planning does support it. And then page number 7, just a comparison for when, I just want to make sure this is available for later, just comparisons of our home to the HILLHOLM next door. That we're asking for very comparable variance requests as well, almost like neck and neck. And then page number 8 is just showing the front elevation as amended, more of a transitional garage is entered from the side of the house. And page number 9 will just show the rear. And I believe the contentious component is this overhang goes a little beyond the neighbor's house. It should be noted it matches the height of the ground floor, and it's approximately 3.6 feet. It's more of an open space or off the breakfast room with a big canopy opening with a skylight that's hidden on a low profile and a louvered section. We will be planting hedges all along the property for privacy. And the orientation of this lot is approximately southwest, so there's no sun impact until after 4 o'clock. Again, with hedges that we'll be putting up at approximately 3.5 to 4 meters, they will completely hide and conceal this. I can answer questions. I think it's fairly straightforward. I just will be happy to answer any questions from the neighbor and of the committee. But I believe this is comparable to many of the houses that we've proposed in this area over the last 10 years. And with planning support and some other neighbor support, I feel that's support this.
Okay, let's hear from the neighbor, and then we'll have you back and you can address those concerns and any questions from the members.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Zaid, are you there?
Yes, I am. So I would like to start to say that we don't actually have any issues with the density or what is proposed, except for the backyard, which we do have a little bit of concern. But I would like to start off with the height. We know 0.5 meter. I don't think it's minor. It's quite a bit, and it will reduce when we built our house, we followed the bylaw, and 0.5 meter I think would actually reduce the sunlight to the HILLHOLM road. So when looking from HILLHOLM, the sunlight would actually be reduced to the front neighbors as well. And for our main concern is actually the front yard setback that is proposed for 5.5 meters when only 7.17 is allowed. So I understand that this was only done for the basement, but once the variance is approved, we think there's a strong possibility that this owner or future owners could build a wall or an equivalent, like maybe a decoration piece that could be quite tall, and this would block the view of our house and the neighborhood. So if there's some way that we can guarantee that no structure like tall would be built in the front yard going past 5.5, we don't have a problem with the basement, just that area we have a problem with it, that something can be built there when the variance is approved. And finally, regarding the backyard patio, the structure does extend 4 meters past our dwelling, and from what I've seen, if you include the skylight, I think it's around maybe 4.5 meters. I'm not too sure. Mr. Wengel can probably clarify that. And we think this will reduce the openness of our backyard and our field of view. And we propose that they bring that patio in line with the end of our dwelling.
Okay.
And
is that everything?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker panel members? Seeing none, okay, Mr. Wengel, if you can speak to the issues raised?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Insofar as the height, again, it's just in the center of the roof will have no shadow impact. And when we did their home next door, it should be noted, there's a bunch of different height elevations that were, they're actually a little higher than we are out of the ground. And so again, it's just measured from established grade. This falls well within parameters approved by committee. And again, planning has no issue with that. Insofar as the front yard setback, that's strictly because we're excavating the front porch. We'd be happy to be held to plan. No intent to put up anything on top of it now or in the future. Again, that's contributing to length. I think it would be interesting to note that when we did our neighbor's home, it extended, you can see the green line of the existing home on our plan. And when we built the neighbor's home, we had this long extension, but again, we met with the neighbors, they approved it. But it was okay then to have that, but now it seems that we have a problem that we can't match something. And again, almost like one of the earlier hearings, this is more like an arbor type of structure. It's a one-story, it's 3.7 meters in total height. The skylight is a low profile in the middle of the line. It will not cause a shadow impact over that. We will be planting hedges to match the height to be screened. I don't believe there is any shadow impact. We did some early shadow studies just in our own office, just so we know up to 4 o'clock, because of the orientation of this being a southwest lot, there is no shadow impact. And again, not a view entitlement across the lot. So if someone wanted to put up, 15 or 20 foot hedge along the property for their own privacy, they have the right to do so. And I think that is the intent, that we still want to put up a 3.5 to 4 meter hedge just for privacy. I think that answers it. I think, again, height is minor, and it's just the central top. We did max out, and I believe on our neighbor's house, but again, it's just because of the way the established grade is calculated. This has dip to the lot from front to side quite a bit, and so you can see this in the differences. There's about a 0.4 difference in grade. It's not a flat lot. It slopes to the street towards the corner street. And therefore, that's what's penalizing. Otherwise, the house itself is the exact same physical house size that we have in the other neighborhoods in terms of floor heights, and use the same ratio for this design.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Wengel? No questions? Okay, let's take it into committee for a decision then. Mr. Nipfel.
Madam Chairman, I don't have any difficulty with this application. I think that it's a reasonable response to the particular site. The concern that the building is 4 meters longer than the adjacent property, or the adjacent house, it's 4 meters longer, but it's because it's a patio area and it's not solid. It's a perforated screen. I would argue if you took the perforated screen away, the thing that would be a concern would be privacy. So I think the perforated screen is actually performing a function, useful function. The fact that the patio has a skylight on part of the roof, I think lightens its visual impact. So I frankly don't see that as intruding onto the adjacent neighbor's rear yard. In terms of perhaps building into the front yard, I have in my notes from when I reviewed the agenda that I would recommend that any approval of the application be tied to plans, and that's particularly because of the length of the building. This variance in words is really substantial. I think the way Mr. Wengel has configured the house is quite reasonable, but I would like the variance approved conditional upon building in accordance to the plans that we have before us. So on that basis, Madam Chairman, unless my colleagues have other concerns, I'd like to move approval of the application subject to timely approval to building according to the plans that we have before us.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Clay? Okay, so motion to approve with the condition to build according to the plans submitted, which would be the superseding plans. Moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved. Item number 33, 33 Hopedale Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have an order to comply going back to July of last year. 2 form letters in support from 37, which is adjacent, as well as 37 Hopedale. And correspondence in opposition from 26 Stanhope Avenue. And I have that individual listed. Okay. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair.
And you are?
My name is Peter Latoshuk of Latag Studio, and I'm here as the agent for 33 Hopedale.
Okay, we do have one opposition speaker, so if I could have you do a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, please.
Sure. Would it be possible to bring up the plans and more specifically sheet MS 2.0, which is, I guess, the 3rd page in the plans submitted? The one above that. So, Madam Chair, to be clear, this is something that existed from the time, I guess, that I was engaged to do the 3rd floor addition, which you actually presided over the Committee of Adjustment hearing for that. As a result of that hearing, and I guess the number of objections that arose, someone had informed the city about this shed having been built sometime earlier, and the inspector came out, looked at it, and essentially said, well, the building itself is under 10 square meters, which means it does not require a building permit. But because of the side canopy to the left of it in this image, he deemed it to be over 10 square meters and thereby requiring a building permit. So essentially, this application is in response to that. Since I was engaged for the 3rd floor on the house, the owners engaged me to help them out with this. So these are as-built drawings. This shed is there and has been there. It is further documented in the survey that I had them generate for the 3rd floor project, dating back to September 28th, 2020, and you have a copy of it as well, and it's captured there. So this is very much an existing condition, and it was done, the homeowner, I guess, built this in error, thinking that he was exempt from needing a building permit, or in fact he needed one. And I believe the variances that we are seeking today are very minor. We are talking about him being off by a few inches on the setbacks, essentially. And I'll leave it there, and I'll reply to the objection if there's anybody objecting.
Yeah, we have one speaker, so I'm going to go there now, and then we'll come back to you. And if the members have questions, they'll ask them then also.
Yep.
Ms. Cooney?
Hi, Melanie.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. Can you please...
I have an echo because I have it on the phone and the...
Okay, do you have the computer going in the
Is this
background?
better?
Yeah, if
No,
you
yeah.
just turn the volume down on the computer or wherever you might be watching this. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Hi,
I
Melanie.
don't know, I can't hear you.
Okay, you know what? I'll just go on my phone here.
Yeah, you're fine right now.
Okay, so
If you're talking, I can't hear you.
can you hear me or no?
Right now I can, but you totally were gone, so I'm not sure what's going on. So I need you to state your
Okay,
name and address for the record, and then we start the clock and you have 5 minutes.
Melanie Cooney, 26 Stanhope Avenue.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you please bring up documentation?
Sorry, what do you want us to bring up?
The presentation that I provided with the photos.
Is it in the supplemental? Not sure where.
Perfect. Okay. So Mr. Latag said that he was unaware before you back in July on the 11th variance, and I brought up the
Okay,
which is
can I
more
just
than a
stop
shed.
you? Are you on a speakerphone or how are you doing? Because you're going in and out constantly.
Okay, so give me 1 second. Do you hear me now?
I can say a few more words, because you still seem to be cutting in and out.
Hello, do you hear me now?
So far, yep.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I was before you back in July. I brought up the illegally built structure, and the homeowner was aware that he built this illegally at the time. I brought it up as part of the 11th variance to say I'm really concerned about the size of the square footage, that the build is increasing. It's a very narrow lot. It's about 19 feet wide. And if you go down, you can see how large the home that's been approved, that we're talking about, has been approved.
Hi,
Let's go to the
Melanie.
next.
Sorry, you're cutting in and out. I'm going to give you a call on the number that you've provided, ending in 9955. Okay, give us 1 second.
Thanks. Renee! Renee!
Hi, Melanie, you're unmuted. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello?
Okay, go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Why is this cutting in and out?
Hello?
Yeah, I can.
Hi.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, let's try
Perfect, thank
try
you.
this again, okay? So we heard the first
Perfect.
part about the size and how you reported it, et cetera, et cetera. So just continue.
Right, so it was already a very large concern. And if you look down at the photos, if you scroll down, this was built in March of 2020. Of course, the design looks beautiful of this shed. But if you scroll even further down, you can see what my view looks like before. Scroll a little bit lower. This is what was built in March of 2020. It's under one roof line. Yes, the plans look like a very pretty shed with a canopy, but it's one large roof line. If you scroll down again, you can see how closely intertwined the canopy is next to this tree. In fact, it serves as a swing. It's built around and through. Scroll down again, please. You can see what this view looks like in the summertime, which is what I brought up as well last July, and how close it is. If you look to the right, you can see the metal fence. That's my fence, chain link fence. It's right on top of the fence. There's no access behind it. And scroll down again, because it'll give a good view of what this looks like in Canada. You can see the actual size and impact of that structure next to my property line. So forget the legally 108 square feet in Toronto you're allowed. This should have bigger setback rules. Look at the precipitation, the snow, not to mention animals. I mean, we have animals in the city. They're everywhere, but they enjoy a good view there in the summer now. Plus, where does the precipitation go? There's no eavesdrops. And the setback variances are only 3. And next to my yard, it's literally 7.8 inches. And if they add these, 2.7 inches. It's massive. You know, I used to enjoy a nice yard, and you heard the other one on Hopedale. There's clearly lots of change in this pocket and neighborhood. And of course, I'm not against progress. If the neighbors next door don't mind that it's on top of their property line, which is very narrow, you can see these 2 homes, that's the neighbor, but they're not looking at this back view. And in fact, I'm so surprised that you can build what you want, pretend you're ignorant of the rules when you're in the building industry. I'm just a resident trying to enjoy my yard and my home. And to have to go through writing letters, appearing at the committee, I really want to enjoy my property and have a decent amount of sight lines. And I also don't think, with all due respect, that we should go through this process and, you know, people can just get approved what they'd like when they're not even abiding by the rules. For me, it's really surprising. And with that, I mean, my view and property, if you looked into my yard, that's the first thing you see. And so many people comment, they're like, what happened to your yard? I said, no, you just built it. And then there's a pretty plan making it look like it's, you know, a small design. As you scroll down, I don't know what the tree laws are. I'm not a builder, but you can see how tight, if you scroll down a little bit on the presentation, you can see how tight this is to my property and the sheer size, the tree, the fence. I mean, we have setback laws for a reason. I think we should respect them. I think we should respect our neighbors also. It's fine after the fact, they submitted this, followed the rules on the 19th, right away, run next door to the two neighbors and have a form letter signed. Easy to get form letters signed for those not impacted. Maybe they like the look of his shed, it's quite pretty from his side. But look at my side, look at the tree, look at the change. And you know, when you're somebody who enjoys your piece of land in your yard, to just have that removed from you, I don't think it should be approved, and I don't think that it's reasonable to be on top of property lines. So with that, and I know it's quite passionate, but I did bring it forward in July when the other variances were approved, and I think this is just on top. But I will leave it with the committee, but I wanted to voice really my opinion and the impact to me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for voicing your concerns. Panel members, do you have any questions? Mr. Clay?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the last speaker, are you on the south side or on the east side of this shed?
I'm directly behind it. So
So
our yard, yeah, right there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out whether the shed is right on your line or is it 0.22 meters away from your line?
It is 7.8 inches away from my line, according to the variance request. And once they add eaves, which they never did, they never finished the back, it will be 2.7 inches.
So you must be on the east side, so there's another property on the south side, is that? I'm assuming.
No, we're directly behind it, because my lot's bigger, and then he's got two people right next door, right?
I have the same question. You're east, right? That's the site plan here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go from front to back of this property, you're at the back.
Correct.
So she's at the
Which is
east,
why-
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
he's
she's
got
on east.
photos, he's got photos up top of the houses or the neighborhood. He submitted it to show the home.
So I guess my point is that the shed is actually right on the line of the
Exactly.
south property line, right? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
That's my yard. And you can see that's like behind my yard.
Right. Okay, thank you.
The entire width of his property, he's only 19 feet. I'm, 33 and something feet, so he's right there.
Okay. Any other questions of the speaker? Seeing none? Okay, thank you, Melanie. Mr. Lutosek, can you speak to the issue raised about sightlines? height above the fence?
I think that, Madam Chair, I think that if we were requesting a height variance on this shed, I think that Mrs. Cooney, might have a bit of a more compelling argument, but the variances that we're seeking are basically minor in nature. For this thing to be legal, it literally needed to be a few inches away from, the backside and the south side, I believe, and that would have been it. I mean, we wouldn't have been here. I'm not disputing that the homeowner made an error building this without a building permit, but you can sort of see my explanation as the actual building itself is less than 10 square meters. And he didn't realize that by creating that side canopy, he would be infringing on a law. And in fact, the building inspector that came out to review this when he was notified, gave him the option to cut away the side canopy, and he wouldn't have written an order to comply. He wouldn't have asked him for a building permit submission. And the homeowner basically, I guess he has some reason. I think he has a swing for his daughter attached to that canopy and so on. So he decided that he'd rather pay double for committee of adjustment and double for permit, and me to, I guess, have the most expensive shed in the neighborhood. That's how much he loves it. So as far as the tree goes, I know that there was a forestry representative from the city out there reviewing it, and as far as I'm aware, there has been nothing submitted to you that I have seen essentially objecting to this and somehow, damaging the tree or hurting the tree. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. Any other
Thank you.
questions, panel members of the agent? No? Okay, let's take it into committee. Ms. Chen?
Yeah, I can start, and I accept the applicant's explanation of how come that it was built, and I'm not too sure that it has that much negative impact to the neighbor, because of course you can see the roof, but the roof is a little bit higher than the existing fence. I do not think that is such a negative impact, and I don't have any problem with this proposal.
Mr. Nipfel?
I'm of a differing opinion. I think that if you're going to have something like this, you need to prove that it's not creating hardship for the neighbors. The fact that it's there, some were normally very reluctant to require it to be removed, but I think this is clearly establishing hardship for the neighbors on both sides. I read the opposition, not just this one, but the others. The applicant, I think, is misleading you. He said if he had an inch or two, he'd have been legal. No, he would have had to have 11.811 inches. That's what the bylaw requirement for the side and rear yard setbacks would be. I'm not in support of this application, and I would vote to have it refused.
Mr. Clay?
Sure. I'm not too terribly fussed about the size of the shed or the height, but what I am concerned about is where it was situated, and the fact that it was built almost like sticking it right into the corner where you have no setback on one property and 7 inches less when you consider the eaves on the other property, to me is excessive. I frankly, my view, I think if they moved it out a foot from each of those two property lines, I wouldn't have any problem with it. But it's not the height, it's not the fact that you have a shed, it's where they decided to put it. And I have a problem with approving the setback variances, which I guess all of them are related to. And for me, the solution would be just to move it a foot in from each of those two property lines, then I don't think there would be an issue. But I accept the speaker's view that, this proximity is what I think is the issue in discharging rain and snow into other people's yards and such, and done without a building permit, notwithstanding a legitimate oversight, speaks volumes to this application. So I'm with Carl. I don't think I can support this application.
Okay. Mr. Nipfel?
Speaking to Larry's point, if they moved it a foot, then they wouldn't need the variances and they'd comply. So I'm bringing forward a motion of refusal. I can't support this application. I think it creates hardship for the adjacent owners.
Okay, motion to refuse, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? You're dissenting, Ms. Chen? Okay, so the motion to refuse carries and Ms. Chen dissents. Okay, so thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes because we have to switch the feed again. We'll be back. When we come back, let's make it 5:12. And when we come back, we'll be doing item number 34, which is 29 Lankin, and Mr. Nipfel will step out as he's declared a conflict. Okay?